My Aunt Tina only ever said the words, "I love you," twice in her life. The first time was when my cousin Jessica was born. The second time was when I bought her a Netflix account. But despite never saying the words, "I love you," you could always smell it in her food. And I remember when I was 2 years old, the first time I smelt her love. It happened to be downstairs in our kitchen table, because my family of 10 had a tradition. No matter how busy you were working at the factories, no matter how busy you were doing your homework, no matter how busy you were with garden work, you always had to report back to dinner every Sunday at 6 p.m. And every 6 p.m., I could smell the love, especially in one dish that would take my aunt 48 hours to make. It was a special chili sauce that she would make because she knew 2-year-old Davis hated vegetables. And the only time she could get me to eat vegetables was to make this creamy sauce, and that she would put it on top of the vegetables. So I could never tell that I was eating broccoli, that I was eating eggplant, or that I was eating anything that was healthy for me. All I could remember was this special sauce. And at the end of dinner, she would always pack me in a jar similar to this one, enough to fill me up for the next week. And every week, I would get a new jar and replace the old one with a new sauce. And that's how my aunt taught me love. For my aunt, food has always been the way that she expressed her love. When my aunt was 5, instead of going to school, she was forced to work in her family's bakery. Every day at 5 a.m., she would wake up, prepare the flour, prepare the bread, and prepare for the customers to come in and embrace the new day. But every now and then, my cousin Jessica would tell me, when my mom was young, and she would see a family who was having a hard time, she would sneak an extra loaf of bread into their bag so they could have a little bit more to eat that day. That was the type of person my aunt was, growing up always around food. But eventually, when others were going to college, she saved up enough money to go to this magical world called America, and where she would eventually meet my uncle and be a part of our family. And food was always a time for my aunt to say, "I love you," but it wasn't always sweet love. Sometimes it was tough love. When I was 5 years old, my aunt turned 25, and I will always remember her birthday because it was the first time that my family went out to eat. When you have a family of 10 people and everyone's working at a factory, you don't have the time or the money to go out. But because my aunt was turning 25, we decided to have a special outing. And I'll always remember being around the table, having all this food, and yet I couldn't help but stare at the table across from us, another family of 10. I remember looking at them and thinking, I've never seen food this amazing. I saw sea bass for the first time. I saw lobster for the first time. I saw crab for the first time. And I thought, what is this magical food? And why are we eating chicken? Why are we eating pork? Why are we eating rice? We could have this at home. And my aunt caught me looking at the table every chance I get. And my aunt said, "Hey Davis, can I talk to you?" And she pulled me aside and she said, "Davis, I want you to do me a favor. Every time you look at someone else's plate, always make sure they have enough to eat. Never look at someone else's plate to make sure that you have more food." At 5 years old, I didn't quite understand the lesson. But my aunt that day said, "Remember, they might have lobster, they might have crab, they might have sea bass, but you'll always have this jar." And so she gave me a jar that night, and we would keep the cycle. And this went on for as long as I remember as a kid. Every time I ran into an issue, my aunt would always figure out a way to solve it with food. When I had my first argument with my mom, she'd always cook me a bowl of pho and say, "It's okay, let your mom win, because there's no way you're winning this argument." Every time I had a breakup, she would make me a fresh dough of banh mi and say, "Eat up." And the bread will soak away your tears too. My aunt always found a way around food to make me feel loved and to make me feel comfortable. And this continued until every single Sunday we would have dinner together. And I would always think of her as my second mom. In fact, the Vietnamese term I use is second mom. And I'll always remember how excited I was on our 18th Mother's Day together when I was about to graduate from high school. And because I graduated from the top of my class, I was given special tickets to my graduation where I could invite my family members to sit in the front row and to hear me give a speech. And I couldn't think of anyone better than to give it to my aunt. And I remember how excited I was to say, I'm going to be the first person in our family to graduate. I'm going to be able to share this message with you. And I'm going to be able to share that our family came here to live this American dream. And I said, Aunt, I want you to be in that front row at that graduation with my speech. And she said, Davis, I would love to, but I can't. I have chemotherapy that day. My aunt said, I just recently discovered I have cancer. So our first chemotherapy session is next week, but I will see you after graduation. I was lost for words that day. Graduation came, and I started college. And my aunt said, oh, don't worry, Davis. I know college food is probably really bad, so I'm gonna send you a jar every single week so that you can put it on top of all the vegetables at school. And she did that for the first year and a half I was at school. And then one day, she sent a jar, except this time, it was an empty jar. And the only other thing that was in it was a pen. And I called her, I said, what's the pen for? Why is the jar empty? It's been 18 years now. I've never seen an empty jar before. And he said, Davis, I'm sorry. The chemotherapy is taking away a lot of my strength. I can't cook right now. But I don't want this jar to ever be empty. So can you do something for me? I said, anything for you. And she said, every day, what I want is, I'm gonna call you every week before my chemotherapy session. And I want you to do something for me. I want you to take the pen, open up the jar, and there's gonna be a slip of paper in it. It's gonna have a question for you. And I want you to answer it with me. And the question was always, what are you grateful for today? And so every week, we would ask ourselves, what are you grateful for today? And every single week, we would fill it in. Some weeks, we would say, I'm grateful for the A I had in my exam. I'm grateful that I can eat candy today. Other weeks, I would say, I'm grateful I got my nails painted today. I'm grateful I threw a football today. I was the one who got my manicures done and my nails done that day. But every week, we would fill up our memories with this jar so that the emptiness that was left behind from my aunt and her cooking was filled up until we would fill it into the top with things that we were grateful for. And this went on for 2 years. And I remember November 5th, 2013 was one of my favorites because I said, I am grateful for having an aunt as amazing as you. And she said, I'm grateful to have a nephew as grateful as you. And I remember the following week on November 12th, and we would Skype. Except this time, he didn't get online. So I waited 5 minutes. I waited 10 minutes. I waited 15 minutes. I waited an hour. Still nothing. And then I get a phone call from my cousin Jessica and said, my mom just passed. I didn't know what to say. For the first time in my life, this jar that had brought me so much happiness, every time I looked at this jar, it reminded me of the cooking that I'm no longer going to be able to taste. Every time I looked at this jar, it reminded me of the emptiness that my aunt left. And every time I looked at this jar, it just reminded me of the life that was taken away. I wanted to throw this jar out of my dorm, down 18 floors. I just wanted to get rid of it. And I thought about, what if I buried this jar with my aunt? Therefore, I never have to think about another single memory, another single thought of emptiness. And I remember being ready to seal the jar up and to bury it. And then I received an envelope from my cousin Jessica. Hey Davis, I think my mom wanted you to have this seat. She's prepared it for a while, but read it. And so I took this envelope, I opened it. Inside was a pen. Inside was a sheet of paper. And inside that sheet of paper, there was a question. It said, what are you grateful for today? From the time I was 2 years old, to the time I was 5 years old, to the time I started college, my aunt taught me that there's two ways that you can look at life. You can look at life as a jar that is empty and think about what could have been. Or you can think about what you had. Like this jar, my aunt taught me that every ounce of sadness that we put in this jar is an ounce of happiness that's no longer able to take up space. Like this jar, every single moment you think about the negative is a moment you cannot spend on the positive. And like this jar, every single moment, second, ounce, feet, any measurement that you have thinking about what you lost, you forget about what life has given you and what you've already won. My aunt never got to hear my graduation speech, never got to see me graduate from Yale, never got to see me hold a degree, but she always encouraged me to get an education. My aunt would never get to spend the 60 plus years that she had expected to be able to continue to be my aunt. But life gave me an amazing aunt for 23 years of my life. And my aunt would never get to hold my daughter, my son, and teach him or her the lessons she taught me. But life gave me an aunt that gave me the lessons to pass on to my son, to my daughters, so that hopefully one day they too can learn what it's like to have the legacy of my aunt. My aunt taught me that no matter the situation that you have in life, we can look about what we lost. We think about what we don't have. We think about what could have been. Or we focus on what life has given us. I've been stuck here in Taiwan for 2 months now. And at first I thought, wow, I just lost my summer back at home. But then I thought, I could spend a summer here in Taiwan. I thought about what it feels like to go from someone who can communicate the language to not being able to communicate at all. But I think, wow, now I get to learn Chinese. And I thought I lost my Toastmasters club at home. But then I look at TGIF, I look at BTS, and I look at all the clubs that have been so grateful to invite me. And I think of what I gained. And as my aunt taught me when I was young, I want you all to think about when you feel down, when you feel negative, when you feel like life is about to punch you, just think, what are you grateful for today? Mr. Table, Mr. Toastmaster of the evening.